Anybody there? Hello, Carol. Thank you. Yeah, twice in one day. You're probably sick of me. Hi, Deborah. Oh boy, how come every time I'm doing something, Bailey wants to come up? She never wants to pay attention to me except for when I'm doing something. Hi, guys. Hi, Christy. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Allison. Hi, Trisha. Hi, Jeanette. How you guys doing? Oh, Heather's here. Oh my God, Heather, you guys, if you don't follow Heather Goodwin, you've got to. She's been doing videos every day. Amazing. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Hiker Karen. Hi, Pat. All right. I'm doing it myself today. I think this is only, hi, Karen, Linda, Jean, Anne Marie. Wow, so many people. Angie, Rose. I'm doing it myself today because this wasn't Kenny's turn and Eden had a family emergency, so she's in North Dakota. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Sharon. This is Bailey, by the way. So Bailey will be my co-host today. Hi, Misty. Hi, Tammy. All right. So welcome to Weight Loss Wednesday, episode 46. We've been doing this almost a year now. I'm Chef AJ, the creator of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, and this is where I answer your questions about healthy, permanent, and sustainable weight loss. Hi, Karen. Hi, Diane. The best way, hi, Jane. Hi, Debbie. The best way to ask a question, hi Colleen, is to submit it to my website, www.eatunprocessed.com. While you're there, why not sign up to be on my mailing list so that when we have other things going on, we can let you know. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Shirley. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Jane. I'll just say hi to you guys today. So are we going to do this with you on my lap the whole time? Maybe you could do what Kenny does, huh? All right. So let's get started. Before we start with the questions, hello. I just want to show you guys. I'm going to have to put you down a little bit, hon. Okay. I know she wants to sit on my lap. So these are the newest creation. Those of you that watched my interview with Dr. Lyle yesterday, these are the Cram muffins. They're named in his honor for the Cram circuit. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Deb. And if you want the recipe, make sure you're signed up for my website because we'll send out an email when I teach them in my newest webinar that Gustavo Tolosa is going to be doing with me. Thank you, Janine Elder, for this wonderful shirt that says Skinny Bitch. If you like this, you can get this and other wonderful shirts at Potato Wisdom. You can find her on Facebook. If you're not yet a skinny bitch, you can get one that says Skinny Bitch in Training. And if this offends you, I'm sorry, but bitch is just an acronym for Babe is taking care of herself. So there we go. And I want to make an announcement that next Wednesday at noon Pacific time, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Joel Fuhrman, best-selling author of Eat to Live, about his new book, which is not yet out, but it's going to be out in about 2 weeks. It's called Fast Food Genocide. I'm reading it. It's really, really incredible. So if you want to be able to ask him questions live, make sure you tune in live at noon Pacific time next Wednesday, October 11th. I knew you'd like that, Sharon. I was going to save it as a surprise. Hi, Chris. All right, where do you get them again? If you're talking about the muffins, you need to sign up to be on my mailing list at eatunprocessed.com. And when we teach the webinar with this and 2 other new recipes, you will learn to make them. I'm still tweaking it. This was my second attempt, and one more attempt, and I know I'll have it right. You love Dr. Fuhrman, huh, Anne Marie? Yeah, he just started it for a lot of people. So, all right, let's get started with the questions. Okay, it's so hard doing this with Bailey on my lap. It's weird when you do it yourself, guys, because there's like 2 screens and you don't know, do I look here? Do I look here? So hopefully I'm looking at you. Here we go. All right. Chelsea from Pennsylvania. This is actually not a question as much as it is a thank you, and we love thank you. She said, no one could help me before I found Ultimate Weight Loss. So thank you for saying that. And she said that in April, she weighed 223. Now she weighs 207, and that she's proud of herself because she's gaining peace of mind and a healthy body, and she could ride her bike today with her family for 2 miles. Thanks. She's thanking me for all I do. So thank you for writing in. And if you're not yet in Ultimate Weight Loss, maybe we can support you even further in your health and weight loss journey. Okay, so the next one's actually a thank you too. So I don't make these up, by the way. These come in to my husband and he sends them to me. And by the way, I now got about 800 emails left. I got them down for about 2,000. So the best way to get in touch with me, well, if you're in Ultimate Weight Loss, the absolute best way is on our group page, honest to goodness. I give that priority over my own email. But whoever you are, please don't send me a message to Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. I mean, I am right now through my professional page, but I don't have a personal page, so I don't have Facebook Messenger. So it kind of notifies me that there's a message, but I'm not going to click it, because once I do that, then people can friend me, even though I don't want any friends. No offense. I had 5,000. It drove me crazy because people kept asking me questions. I never got my work done. You can ask them on my personal page or in Ultimate Weight Loss. So please, whether you're in Ultimate Weight Loss or not, don't send me a message through Facebook. I will not get it. The best way is if you're in Ultimate Weight Loss on the group page. And if you're not, then send it to my mailing list at eatandprocess.com. And if you're in Mastery, the best way is to text me. And if you're a family member, don't bother me. Just kidding. So they don't watch anyway. All right. So this is from Gail. She says she's thanking me for all I do to help people eat right, and with all my wonderful tips for travel, make healthy eating easier. So her question is about SIBO. That stands for Small Intestinal Bacterial Overgrowth, SIBO. She says she can't get it fixed, and if she doesn't get it fixed, she'll be going to True North next. She's cut off all the bad stuff for a year and a half, but the problem remains. So when you say the problem remains, I don't think that SIBO in and of itself is a problem. That just means you have too much bacteria. Everybody has bacteria in their intestines and their colon. And there's a test called the hydrogen breath test that determines if you have too much or the wrong kind. And so the SIBO itself doesn't always cause a problem, because if we tested everybody, a lot of people would have it and be completely symptom-free. So if you have symptoms from the SIBO, my symptoms were diarrhea and bloating, unrelenting bloating to the size of a 9-month pregnant woman for almost 9 months, then definitely you want to do something about it. So I think the best thing you could do is see a really good gastroenterologist. And by really good, somebody that means that is either plant-based or sympathetic to plant-based. We do have actually 3 plant-based GI doctors here in California. So if you live in California, get in touch with me and I'll tell you who they are. You can always see a True North medical doctor without going to True North. And you can do that with a consult that's less than $100 via phone or Skype. You go to healthpromoting.com, you call them up, and that's another thing you can do. And one thing you can do on your own is to do an elimination diet. At the end of the day, that's what really helped me. I tried taking those medicines. They were like $2,000. One is called Xifaxan. I did like 3 rounds. It didn't help at all. The only thing that helped me was to heal my gut was time. It took about 9 months. I did an elimination diet. There's one on drmcdougall.com that tells you how to do it. I did sweet potatoes and zucchini. Interestingly enough, I didn't get bored because I found many different ways to prepare it. And I actually still enjoy sweet potatoes and zucchini pretty much as my favorite food, because when I was sick, that was all I could eat. And now I rarely have symptoms. Occasionally, if I eat something that is not good for me, which in my case is something that I'm allergic to. I'm allergic to black pepper. And a lot of times people say they don't use it, but then I find out, well, it was in the broth or it was in the mustard. So I get really sick and that will set me off. That's why I don't like eating at restaurants or other people's homes. They're just never going to be as careful as you are with the food. So that's good. And, you know, you can always have your free consult with Dr. Alan Goldhammer at healthpromoting.com. And he can tell you whether or not True North would be right for you, or if fasting would be right for you. The refeeding is where you're really going to learn something, because if you have food triggers or food sensitivities or allergies, that's where it's going to show up. You know, I saw 2 immunologists, and I had the skin test. One is IGF and one is IgE or something. And 2 different immunologists, and I saw a naturopathic doctor who did the allergy testing through the blood, and none of it was conclusive. Because if I had listened to all 3 of those, I would be able to eat nothing. It ranges usually 0 to 5 how allergic you are. And that's why a good immunologist will tell you that the proof of the pudding is in the eating, which is why an elimination diet or even a water fast can be so useful, because then when you refeed, you can journal very carefully what your symptoms are. And by the way, you didn't tell me what your symptoms were, or even if you have anything, because just having SIBO, I mean, that's to me just saying, well, I have blood. Everybody has blood, but if you don't have an infection in your blood, then it's not a problem having blood. And if you don't have symptoms from the SIBO, then it's not a problem. I go back all the time and get that breath test, and I still have it, but I'm not going to do anything about it if I have no symptoms. And even if I have symptoms, I'm not going to do anything probably anymore anyway. I'm just going to live with it. One of the things, believe it or not, that has been shown to help all the GI stuff is meditation, which is something that's almost impossible to get people to do. It's hard enough to get people to eat right, but sometimes you can do it. And it's even harder to get people to exercise, but sometimes you can do it. But to get them to meditate, boy, that's been my greatest challenge. That's why the Ultimate Weight Loss Program right now, we're doing the 30 days of October, get it? Where we're doing a meditation challenge as we get ready for the 63 days of abstinence. And by the way, if the holidays are difficult for you, especially Halloween, where it starts, where you have a relapse because of that innocent, fun-sized Snickers bar, then you end up binging through January 2nd, this is probably the best time to join the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, because from Halloween to January 2nd, we do a challenge called the 63 Days of Abstinence to get you through the holidays without eating whatever your trigger foods or addictive foods for you are, like sugar, flour, alcohol. So think about joining before Halloween so you can get in on that challenge. So what was I talking about with SIBO? Oh yeah. So I go to a gastroenterologist at UCLA who's a really big believer in the mind-body connection. There's many of them at UCLA, like Dr. Imran Mayer, that believes in that. I interviewed him on my show, Healthy Living. You can find it on YouTube. And he talks about his book, I believe is called The Gut Brain. I forget, but it's a really, really good book. And my gastroenterologist at UCLA, Dr. Kirsten Tillich, she really, really believes in things like mindfulness. She sent me to an 8-week course at UCLA for GI issues and motility issues. So look into those things. Maybe read Dr. Mayer's book. And yeah, it's bad. A lot of people are having GI problems now, and bloating in and of itself is not a medical condition, but so many people I know are suffering from it. I wonder if it has to do with our food supply being all mucked up, all the GMOs and weird things they're putting in it. I don't know, because it really seems to be prevalent right now, and it seems to be more prevalent in women, and especially women really don't like this, because when we get it, we look pregnant, which if you listen to Dr. Lyle's podcast, Beat Your Genes, you know that if we're pregnant, then and especially if we're single, men are not going to want to be attracted to us, because biologically, that's how it was in the Stone Age. If a woman was pregnant, she could still be very attractive, but she wouldn't have the ability to pass on the genes. So by the way, it's hard for me to read the comments when I'm by myself. Amanda, the program is already discounted to the absolute lowest price of any program like that, where you get 24-hour support. So the answer is no. We have not ever raised the price. So, there's programs that are, I'm told, that are $1,000 and more, and you don't get as much as you do. But payment, yes, it could probably be arranged. But the best way to do a payment would probably be to just go to PayPal, because if you buy it on PayPal, you get 6 months interest free, so it costs less than $25 a month, and then that would be a really cool way to do it. So less than $1 a day, and it's just a one-time fee. So anyway, I'm sorry you have that. Those are my recommendations. The other thing you could do is try to find a plant-based doctor near you. www.vegdocs.com has a pretty comprehensive list, but you didn't say where you lived or what your symptoms were. So yeah, thanks, Nina, for spreading the word. And by the way, you can spread the word right now, because right under the video you're watching, there's a share button, and you can share it on your pages or on your personal page. And it's so funny because, oh, thanks. Annie says, the best program ever. Do UWL. I've been on only a month and lost 1.5 and getting great new habits. Love Chef AJ and the community. Thanks. So that's the one thing we really have as a community. We have an amazing tribe of like-minded people, and that's really the best part. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, because one of the questions actually is, what is the Ultimate Weight Loss Program? Pat says it's worth every penny. Money well spent. Thank you so much. So what you're paying for, guys, just so you know, is that I spend pretty much all day answering your questions, and so does my partner, John Pierre. So you're not paying for the diet. I tell you the diet for free. I have probably over 200 free videos now on my website or YouTube, and the diet part is no secret, but it's the support. Okay, so Terry says, so this is sort of in the realm of medical questions, but I'm going to take it because I try to answer medical questions from the culinary point of view, because I'm also a chef. Terry says that when she doesn't eat salt, she gets leg and foot cramps at night. So again, this would be something that you could see Dr. Goldhammer for in the consult. But here's the thing. I interviewed Dr. Popper last week. The interview is on my YouTube page. It's called Healthy Living Live with Dr. Pam Popper. And one of the things she talked about was how cause doesn't always equal effect. Now, I'm not saying that isn't true for you, I believe that you get leg cramps when you stop eating salt, but is that the only thing you're stopping? You see, a lot of times people say, well, I went on a plant-based or vegan diet and my hair fell out, or I didn't have energy. And these things may or may not happen anyway. And so a lot of times the vegan diet gets blamed. And so I'm not saying in your case that salt isn't the problem, but see, you don't need salt, you need sodium. And if you eat foods that have a lot of salt, then you don't necessarily need to add salt in the form of what people add the salt, that's 2,300 milligrams of sodium per teaspoon. It's an essential nutrient without which you die. But if you eat enough of the food that we recommend on the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, or the diet style they recommend at True North, a health promoting diet, you'll get between 500 and 750 milligrams of sodium just from the food. Now, if you work outside, if you're sweating a lot, if you're exercising, then you may need more. And so what you want to do is focus on foods that are naturally high in sodium, which are the ones that nobody wants to eat, which are vegetables, particularly green vegetables. Celery is high in sodium. All the greens are, even tomatoes. So if you're eating enough vegetables, you should be getting enough sodium. That said, definitely see your doctor and see if that really is the case with you, that salt by itself does that, because it sounds to me that you're changing other things, that you're not eating the same diet and then just taking out salt. At least that's how I interpreted your email. What I want to say is, when I exercise really, really hard, I sometimes get those leg cramps at night. And so what I do is I use magnesium spray. You can get this at places like Whole Foods or the pharmacy. And I spray this on my foot and calves because I know how painful that is. And that's what really works for me, for me, it's not sodium, it's magnesium. So what is the temperature oven setting for Dijon balsamic Brussels sprouts? Oh my gosh. Everything works with that recipe. I just got back from Mexico teaching at Rancho La Puerta in Tecate. And that was one of the recipes, but guess what? The Brussels sprouts had not come in yet. So we did it on white turnips. We did it on butternut squash, sweet potatoes. We've done it on broccoli. We've done it on cauliflower. There's really no vegetable that it doesn't work on. And so technically I think it was 400. The recipe was written for. I sometimes roasted 450, but truthfully, I do it in the air fryer now because it takes a lot less time. It takes about 20 minutes. So, all right. Nice. Used it on broccoli and it was delicious, Amanda said. See, this is why I don't realize how much I miss Kenny and Eden until they're not here. The only good thing about not having them here is I get to sit down. They make me stand up otherwise. So, all right, here we go. This question is from Andre in Oklahoma. All right. Dear Chef AJ, I've been following a mostly whole food vegan diet off and on for 5 years, though I've never really given up all processed vegan food. When I'm, quote, on it, my weight goes down to a normal weight. And when I go back off it, my weight returns to overweight or obese BMI. Now, before I get to your question, because there's a however there, what you say, Andre, is everybody's story, which is that I think everybody that's ever gone on a diet knows that you can lose weight, and you can lose weight any diet style out there, whether it's starvation or weighing and measuring or counting calories, carbs, or points. There's really no diet that has you eating less calories than what you need that will not facilitate weight loss. But the problem is very few people maintain their weight. I think it's something like, I've read 5%, I've read 2%, I've read 1%. The number that comes up the most is about 2% keep it off for more than 2 years. Very few keep it off for even 1 year. So you've kind of answered your own question, is that when you're on it, it works, and when you're off it, it doesn't work, which is why I said last week, and we actually have a question about that today, that if you can't do Ultimate Weight Loss or any program that you feel is too restrictive for you, then find one that is a little bit less restrictive, but that's still health promoting, that you can do and you can sustain. The problem is that if a program allows foods that are addictive for you, that are trigger foods for you, that cause you to overeat, that cause you to have cravings, it's going to be hard for you to facilitate weight loss with that program. That's why Ultimate Weight Loss, which is an abstinence-based program based on the abstinence of all SOFAs, sugar, oil, flour, alcohol, and salt, for people that can do it, it always works, and it works beautifully. Now, the question is can you do it and can you sustain it? So, Andre, what I'd recommend to you is to find the diet style that you can sustain. I've said this since day one. I'm not for everybody. My program's not for everybody. I follow the school of Dr. Ellen Goldhammer, and the School of Dietary Excellence and Abstinence. And for somebody that is an addict, I think that's probably the only type of program that really will work long-term, but I get that it's too hard for some people. Some people say the bar is set too high, and when it's set too high, they don't try, so they get to what is called, Dr. Lyle's term, the ego trap, and then they fail boldly, miserably, on purpose, and let everybody know. I've also seen when the bar is set too low that people trip over it and fall on their face. So you've got to find what works for you. The thing is the longer you do something, especially if you enjoy it, the easier it gets. When people start a health promoting diet of any kind, and they have to give up their favorite foods or their pleasure trap foods, the oil, the sugar, the salt, the flour, it can take a while for them to neuroadapt. But the thing is once you do fully neuroadapt, and the sad thing is most people don't give it enough time, but when they do, the food that we eat on the Ultimate Weight Loss Program tastes absolutely delicious. You know, Shada and I have a dear friend that has cancer, and so we cooked for the family. And we spent a whole day doing batch cooking. And Shada and I eat very simply. One of the secrets we feel to maintaining your weight loss, maybe not necessarily losing it, because we give you delicious recipes in the program, a 21-day guide. All the recipes are delicious. They were tested on regular people, is to eat simply, because variety encourages overeating. So Shada and I pretty much eat the same thing every day. Doesn't mean we eat the same vegetable or the same fruit, but we eat, soups and salads and vegetables and fruit. Very, very simple. So we were making all these recipes of mine that were absolutely delicious, like the creamy curried kabocha squash soup, which we forgot how good it was, and the sweet potato chili. And so Charles was eating some of this food, and he's like, "This is the most delicious recipe. Where's it from?" I said, "Well, it's from the recipe guide." He goes, "Well, how come you never make it?" I said, "Because every time I ask you what you want for dinner, you say the same thing." And so we have the same thing. But the point is these recipes can really help you because they're really delicious if you give them enough time. But when you're addicted to the sofas, the sugar, the oil, flour, alcohol, salt, even the most delicious SOFAs-free recipes may not taste as good as they will once you fully neuroadapt. The problem is people have their feet in both worlds, and they want to have their feet in the healthy world and be compliant, and they also want to dabble in the pleasure trap world and eat addictive foods. And that usually is a disaster from a dietary standpoint, a taste neuroadaptation standpoint, and a brain chemistry stabilization standpoint. It's hard because the world is not set up to support people that eat healthy. You get junk food offered to you at every turn. I shop at Costco once a week, and I mean, you wouldn't believe people line up for those samples that practically trample each other to get like a little tiny hot dog this big. But the point I wanted to make, Andre, is you've said it yourself, just like everybody else. When you're on the program, it's working. You're not overweight or obese, and when you're off, you are. So which do you like better? So find the one that works for you long term. But let's get to the question. So, and guys, if you like, please share these. Really, it helps me out, because if I get a high enough number, Facebook says I don't know what they'll do, but they keep saying, hey, if you can get to 400 again, I don't know. So we're at a couple hundred now, but you can always watch the replay as well. So he says, however, whether my weight is up or down, my blood pressure is always on the high side. My triglycerides tend to trend high as well. So I've decided to try to do a salt-free experiment and see if I can normalize my blood pressure for the first time in my adult life. Any tips on going salt-free? I wish I could afford to travel to Santa Rosa, California and give the docs at True North a visit, but other than doing that, is there a way to make going salt-free less difficult and more sustainable? Any help would be greatly appreciated. So remember that I've already said that you can. Hi, Christy. It's okay that you're late. You can talk to one of the True North doctors without going to True North. So you can do a consult with any of their wonderful medical doctors like Dr. Michael Clapper, Dr. Anthony Lim, Dr. Peter Sultana. I think they might even have new medical doctors now. And they have wonderful naturopathic doctors like Chilla Varesh and maybe even others who I don't know. So you can always do that, and it's less than $100. And you can also do a free consult with Dr. Alan Goldhammer by simply going to the website of True North, which is www.healthpromoting.com, and you fill out the intake form. And in about a week, he calls you back and he goes over your health history to even see if True North is right for you. But here's the thing, if all you're taking out of your diet is salt, this may not be enough to lower your blood pressure, because a lot of times when somebody's weight normalizes and it's been normal for a couple of years, their blood pressure will go down. But there are some people, and Dr. McDougall has talked about this, I believe it was on the interview of a show. It was an Adventist show, and I can't think of it. It's on YouTube, and he was on with Dr. Goldhammer, and he talked about how every now and then somebody does the McDougall 10-day live-in program, and even if they have the results in other areas and their weight, their blood pressure just doesn't go down. And then they get punished and they get sent to food jail at True North and they have to fast. And I've known people, even people that aren't overweight, I've known people that have unrelenting high blood pressure genetically, that they had to do more than one fast to actually get it to go down. But getting your weight down will help. It sounds like maybe you're a little bit of a yo-yo dieter, Andre, but getting your weight down will help. The thing is to tips to going salt-free. Well, sure. So one of the things I want to tell you is because at the beginning of the show, I showed you my new cram muffins named in honor of Dr. Lyle, which I'm going to teach on the next webinar with Dr. Gustavo Tolosa. That webinar is going to be called something like how to eat anything when it feels like you can't eat, or how to eat when it feels like, we had a clever name, something like when it feels like you can't eat anything, how to eat everything. And it's about, hi Pam, it's about how to make food delicious without sugar, oil, flour, alcohol, or salt. It's not going to necessarily be a cooking webinar. I'm going to do 3 new recipes. You're welcome, Dennis and Lisa. But I'm going to talk about just more like techniques. And so I'd really like you, Andre, to make sure you're on my mailing list at eatunprocessed.com so you can see that webinar. So I'm just going to give you some really quick tips on how to make salt-free food delicious. And I know I talked about this in one of the other episodes of Weight Loss Wednesday, but now that we've done 46, I can't remember which one. So my favorite spice that stimulates, not stimulates salt, but simulates salt is called Benson's Table Tasty. And she has a line of salt-free seasonings, Debbie Benson, available at www.bensonsgourmetseasonings.com. But the Table Tasty, which is the only one that's pepper-free, happens to be my favorite. It tastes a lot like salt. People really, really like it. And I believe that you can, for $1, which is the cost of her shipping, just order a sample just to be sure. I know that Dr. Clapper's a big fan of it. I had dinner at his house last time I was in Santa Rosa, and it was right there on the table. I think it's excellent, and it works for a lot of people. Sometimes just giving yourself sour to your taste buds, things like lemon, lime, vinegar, it simulates the salty kind of vibe because your taste buds for sour sit next to your taste buds for salt. Fresh herbs. Yeah, Sharon is saying try the red lentil chili. So I think my recipes are really good for people that don't eat salt because they're tested on people that don't eat salt. My Chipotle bean burgers, all the recipes in the 21-day recipe guide were tested on regular people. By regular people, I mean people that were not only not SOS free, but that weren't even vegan. I figured if they ate them, then a person that's wanting to get healthy would. But nothing is going to help you neuroadapt more than time, Andre. And it takes about 30 days from going from whatever diet you're on to one that's sodium free for it to taste good. So you're going to need time. And so when you say that sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off, have you ever been able to string together 30 days on? Because if you can do that with the salt, usually by day 31, everything tastes really salty. You eat a piece of Swiss chard and you're like, wow, I feel like I swallowed, ocean water. I take celery. You can actually buy this at Penzeys, dehydrated celery. If you have a dehydrator, you can dehydrate celery, grind it up in your Vitamix or high-speed blender, and you can use that for salt. That's different than celery salt. But I'm going to tell you that whether you have weight to lose or not, salt is the hardest of the evil trinity of sugar, oil, and salt. Oil is the easiest, at least from a taste standpoint, because we can make foods taste delicious without oil. We can bake without oil very easily. We can stir fry without oil. We can do all these things without oil. And if people want to eat fat, it's very easy to substitute nut butters or seed butters or avocados for the fat without using oil. So oil is the easiest. And you don't even notice that it's gone taste-wise because truthfully, oil actually blocks the taste buds of your tongue so that you can't taste the food and you need more salt. Sugar is actually the next easiest because we can use dates, we can use fruits, but there is nothing that tastes like salt really other than salt. And it's hard for everybody. And it's really hard to be perfect. I know that I'm not perfect with salt. In the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, we did a 30-day salt challenge. And I did really well because I don't like that word cheat. I wasn't even really relapsing. I was being really lazy because I travel, even though I know how to make salt-free ketchup and salt-free barbecue sauce and salt-free salsa. And they already have a good salt-free mustard out there. They do, by the way, have salt-free ketchup. It's just that, sugar-free ketchup, but it has salt. I would just, use condiments. And I just didn't like that because whenever I would use the condiments with salt, I would eat way more food than I intended or wanted. So for me, it's a real trigger because for a lot of people, especially overweight people or food addicts, it encourages you to eat more food. Karen says salt was hard for me. She got through it, lowered her blood pressure. Terrific. The salt-free Brenda's Benson's Table Tasty. Yeah, Julie, Evil Trinity comes from my book on process. You know, I'm shocked that I'm not saying you have to read my book on process, but how many people in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program have never read that book. And the book is basically this, I hold it up, but I've got Bailey on my lap. The book is basically the memoir of my life, and it has about 109 recipes. So yeah, have you heard about taking 1 to 2 tablespoons a night of Bragg's organic cider vinegar to help with weight loss? Yeah, I don't really buy it. But you know, if your sister-in-law says it works, but what's your sister-in-law eating? So the way you would do an experiment is to keep eating exactly what you're eating and then take these 2 tablespoons. I mean, to me, that sounds so nasty that maybe it helps with weight loss because it kills your appetite for everything else. But that question came in during the live interview with Dr. Lyle, but that was not on topic, so I didn't ask him, but maybe I can ask him next time. But no, I've never heard of that. I know that Patricia Bragg wrote a book about apple cider vinegar, one of the products she sells, and said that it has health benefits, but I really don't know, so I don't want to comment. And, you know, if it works, great. You know, why don't you do an experiment and try it? Keep eating exactly what you're eating and just add those 2 tablespoons and see if it works. Thank you, Robin. She says that the book is worth it for my story. So salt is really hard, and I go through long stretches being perfect with salt, and then I fall off the wagon when I go out, which I don't go out much. I don't go to restaurants. I was at a restaurant twice in 2016 and once this year. Yay, Jody's able to watch live. Fantastic. She's watched all episodes. Thank you. But like, for example, we were just traveling. Where were we? We were at San Francisco for the Veg Fest with Tammy and Tom Kramer and Shada. And so we ate at the Whole Food Salad Bar, and I had the artichoke hearts because I love artichoke hearts, which, by the way, like, they're the heaviest thing on the salad bar, which was why my salad probably cost almost $21. I had the biggest salad and the one that weighed the most. But, you know, they had salt in them. Now at home, what I would do is I'd buy frozen artichoke hearts, which have no salt, or I'd take the can and soak them. So I'm not diligent with the salt. It's really easy for it to sneak in. You know, I never believed that salt really was the appetite stimulant that Dr. Goldhammer talked about. He always uses the example of taking kind of a neutral food that you like brown rice, and eating it on a day you're hungry and noticing how much you eat. And then on another day, adding some soy sauce to it or some salt and noticing that you eat a lot more. And I never really bought that until we were running the live Ultimate Weight Loss Program, which we have one coming up in October. It's unfortunately sold out, but you'd have to live in LA anyway. But we had this participant that was really one of the worst food addicts I had ever met. And for her, salt was a trigger. And so one night after the meeting, she called me up and she said, "What did you put in the food?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "There had to be salt in it." I said, "No, I swear, you know, I would never trick you." She goes, "Well, all I know is I had such cravings on the way home that I stopped and ate a bunch of vegan junk food." And I thought, oh, she's, you know, just excuses. She's making this up. And then I went to take the trash out and I looked. And we have gals that help us in the program, and they take turns cooking. And I looked at the can of the fire roasted tomatoes from Muir Glen, and they were not the salt-free ones that I use. And that little bit of salt in that chili was enough to set her off. So everybody's different that way. Salt is hard, you know, but I would imagine if you have complications from your being overweight or being obese, that's hard too. So, and having high blood pressure, as you know, Andre, isn't without risk. So I would definitely at least have your free consult with Dr. Goldhammer, because I think when you go to True North, it's a lot easier to start one of these programs, because you not only get the information as to the why from the health standpoint, but you get the community as well as you would get if you joined Ultimate Weight Loss, which is now being recommended by the doctors at True North. Yeah. Yes, Kim is right. Salt will make you hold on to water. So does soaking salty things like artichokes, olives, or beans get rid of the salt? So I don't think it gets rid of 100% of the salt, but I think it gets rid of a lot of the salt. And even at True North, they use things like hearts of palm, which come in salt, and they soak them really, really well. I mean, I think if you sent it to a lab, you would probably find a small amount of salt, but there's certain things like that just, I've never seen things like hearts of palm come salt-free. However, beans do come salt-free, and artichoke hearts do come salt-free as well. So I've got one more question, and before I get to it, I'm just going to kind of scroll through this feed and see if I missed your questions or anything like that, because it goes pretty fast. I have low blood pressure and wonder if salt, Oh, did I say this was episode 36, Ellen? I could have sworn I said it was 46. It is 46, though. I wonder if salt affects me the same. I don't know that. So let's get to this question. This is from James. And James says, last week on Weight Loss Wednesday, I had mentioned that if someone is struggling doing the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, to go back to doing unprocessed. Why didn't you just recommend the McDougall program? Well, I did not recommend the McDougall program. And I think this would be a good time to answer, in conjunction with your question, James, a question I get all the time, which is, what is the Ultimate Weight Loss Program? Because the funny thing is I get that question even as I'm going through the feed after the broadcast, because I like to check for quality to make sure you can hear it and see it. As I get, what is the program? Because a lot of people are finding me for the first time with episode 46. They may have never heard of me, or if you guys are sharing this broadcast right now, which I appreciate if you do, other people are like, well, who is this girl and why is she wearing a shirt that says skinny bitch and have a dog on her lap? So what I want to say is that I don't not recommend the McDougall program. I absolutely do, because if you know anything about me, if you watch my YouTube video, Easy Meals to Make You Thin, I mention Dr. John McDougall, Dr. Alan Goldhammer, Dr. Doug Lyle, the three people responsible for making me a skinny bitch, and I thank them very much. And they are the three people that I dedicate my next book to. So yeah, Christy knows it's the same, a different episode because of a different shirt. You know, it's funny, Christy, I wish somebody could catalog my shirts, because I realized that I wore the same shirt twice, and I'm starting to run out of shirts unless people send me more. So I'd love, I really don't have time, but I'd love somebody to send me a list of what shirt I want it more in what episode, so that I can keep it up and not wear the same shirt. Jamie, hopefully the book is coming out December 1st. It's written, but it's not formatted. So I digress. See, that's why I need Kenny and Eden. I hope you guys come back soon. So the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. Okay, so the operative word is program. Because, you know, I remember when we first started out, we started doing this program online in, I believe it was July 2014, because we had been running it for about 5 years in Los Angeles, and people were hearing about the success people were having. We were doing the program live, myself and John Pierre, and we didn't know, me and John Pierre are the two least tech savvy people you could ever meet. It's amazing that I'm even able to do this. And so we started doing it online, and I remember somebody, it was actually on the McDougall forum, which I'm not a member of because they bash me all the time mercilessly there, which I don't know why, because I believe Dr. McDougall likes me. He said I'm his friend and I adore him. But somebody said, I spent, the program was only $97 back then. It's $149 now because we've upgraded it. But we send you, now we don't sell the DVDs anymore in the CDs because too many people, there was shipping, especially real people in other countries. But you get it all now as downloads, and I think it's like 16 hours of content, videos and audios of one of the live Ultimate Weight Loss programs, and we send you the calorie density magnet and the bracelet that says eat to the left of the red line. And she goes, I spent $97 and all we got was a magnet and a bracelet. Well, the thing is we know if you open your email, she never opened it, so she never looked at any of the content. She never joined the private group. What the program is, this is what we talk about every week. And if you go to YouTube, you'll see, I think, 65 episodes of The Chef and the Dietitian. There's 13 episodes of Healthy Living with over 40 recipes there. There's webinars on eatunprocessed.com. I interview all kinds of people. So there's no secret diet here. The dietary style is the exact same dietary style that Dr. McDougall writes about in his book, The McDougall Program for Maximum Weight Loss. And it's the same dietary style that Dr. Alan Goldhammer has been teaching and serving at True North for over 32 years. So there's no secret there. It's a whole food, plant exclusive diet, free of sugar, oil, and salt, and also alcohol. I mean, I added the SOFAs, made it SOS free. I made it SOFAs because it still includes the alcohol and it still does, and it doesn't include the flour. Now, the McDougall program for maximum weight loss is different than the more liberal Starch Solution McDougall program. And that is a terrific program, and it works for so many people. And it's a great point of entry for many people because we have a question here about Engine 2. It's the same, I believe it's very, very similar. I don't know if anything is as strict as mine or as extreme. You know, it's so funny because anytime you take an addictive substance out of a program, then all of a sudden it's extreme, even though the way I propose you eat is the way our ancestors ate throughout pretty much all of human history, in the same way they eat in parts of the world today, at least all the most long-lived people with the lowest blood pressure, things like that. And so the the difference between the McDougall program for maximum weight loss and the more liberal START solution is the difference between the ultimate weight loss program and the more liberal McDougall program. And so I think that if you can do a more liberal program like Engine 2, Forks Over Knives, the regular McDougall program, and get the results you want, whether they're weight results or health results, do those. I say that from day one, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I love all those people that run those programs. But the problem is if you're a food addict, these programs may not work for you. And really what ultimate weight loss is, it's more than a weight loss program. That's the name of the program. The truth is, I wanted to call it the Food Addiction Recovery and Treatment Program. But the problem is that spells fart. And I did not want to run a fart program. And my partner, John Pierre, says we should call it the Love and Compassion Program, but then nobody would buy it. And speaking of love and compassion, I want to wish you all a very happy St. Francis of Assisi feast day. Even though I'm Jewish, I really love the saints, and especially St. Francis. So if you celebrate, it's a great day to go to a church and get your animal blessed, even if you are not of that faith. Oh, Deborah likes my sense of humor. Thank you. And so what I've done with the Ultimate Weight Loss Program is I've merged two worlds. And by that, I mean, there's a world of people that treat food addiction, and none of them are vegan. And none of them have vegan programs, and all their programs are strict weighing and measuring programs, which work if you were willing to weigh and measure the rest of your life. But at least for the people I've known and work with, which is probably close to 3,000 now, has not been sustainable for them and often caused them to develop eating disorders like bulimia from the severe restriction of weighing and measuring your food. The Ultimate Weight Loss Program is an ad libitum eating style where you eat as much as you want, as often as you want, whenever you want, until comfortably full of the right foods, which are the foods to the left of the red line, which if you have my magnet or heard any of my talks, you would understand what that is. Americans eat over 92% of their calories to the right of the red line, which is animal products and processed food, less than 10% from fruits and vegetables, which is to the left. And so when I first discovered food addiction and realized I was a food addict, I went to seek help because there was no help in the plant-based world. Now, I know that there are plant-based doctors that believe in food addiction, and I've interviewed them. I know Dr. Scott Stoll believes in it. I know Dr. Ellen Goldhammer believes in it. I believe that Dr. Barnard and Dr. Furman believe in it. I don't want to put words in their mouth. And I'm not saying that the ones that I didn't list don't believe in it, but they have other, I hate the saying fish to fry because we don't want to even eat fish, but you get what I'm saying. They have other agendas like reversing heart disease and diabetes, which you can totally do on a diet that has flour and maybe even sometimes some of the richer foods, but you can't necessarily reverse food addiction with those diets, because the problem is when you're addicted to, when you're a food addict, by the way, it's not food, because you can't be addicted to food because you have to eat. You're addicted to certain foods, processed and refined foods, specifically the sugar, the flour, and the alcohol, foods that are not found in nature, foods that they come from a plant. But what happens is sugar and flour go through the same refining process as drugs and alcohol. And for a certain segment of our population, these foods have a very addictive property that when we start eating them, we can't stop. We crave them. We obsess about them. We compulsively eat them. And most people, whether they eat sugar or not, know that sugar is not a health food. But try to tell people that with flour and they freak out, because after all, we break bread with our families. Bread is the staff of life, and people can't imagine that flour has the same psychoactive property as sugar. And I love how Deanne says that flour is a gateway drug for her to the use of sugar, because you don't want to eat powders, you want to eat whole foods. And so some of these more liberal plant-based programs allow flour in the form of cereals and breads and pastas, which are not unhealthy. And some of them are even not so great in caloric density. And a lot of people will gain health and reverse their heart disease and diabetes with them. But I really don't know somebody who's a food addict that reverses food addiction eating sugar and flour. First of all, even if they were healthy for everyone, they're at a very high caloric density. So beets, for example, are 195 calories per pound. Sugar is 1,800 calories per pound. It's 9 times as calorically dense. And you'll probably say, well, but nobody eats a pound of sugar. A lot of people eat a pound of sugar because most Americans eat a half a pound of sugar a day. 900 calories a day. Americans eat over 150 pounds of sugar per person per year. So a lot of people do actually eat a pound of sugar, especially people that drink drink sodas. And nobody eats a pound of flour. Well, I'm not sure that either, because, flour and bread is about 1,500 calories a pound, but the whole grains that it's made for are 500 calories a pound. So when you process a food, you make it calorie rich and nutrient poor. You increase your ability to exponentially overeat on it. You'd get very full eating 500 calories of brown rice. I do it all the time. That's about 2.5 cups easily for dinner. But I grind it into a flour to make a gluten-free bread or a vegan treat. And now I need 1,500 calories to fill the same space in the tank, which is my stomach, which is about the size of a cantaloupe, which holds a liter of food, which is about 4.22 cups. But caloric density notwithstanding, the problem is that for people that are food addicted, and food addiction exists on a continuum from over here being desire and over here being addiction. Some people can have these foods a little or a lot and maintain health and maintain weight. But if you're overweight, and if you can't not eat them, or if when you eat them you can't stop eating them, that's probably not you. And so if somebody is coming to me, James, they've probably already tried a more liberal program and it didn't work for them in terms of keeping even small amounts of these addictive foods in. And so to my knowledge, the Ultimate Weight Loss Program is the only 100% exclusively plant-based program that is run by somebody that is exclusively plant-based. I've been vegan now for 40 years and 34 days, and it is a plant-based program. So we don't allow any animal products either. So like I said, when I tried to get treatment in the regular world, because there was nobody in the plant-based world that was treating food addiction, basically I was told, well, you have to eat animal products or you can't recover, you have to weigh and measure your food. And these things instinctively, I just knew they were wrong. And all the people that I admire, like Dr. McDougall and Dr. Lyle, basically thought this was ridiculous too. And so I created the program to basically merge what I knew about food addiction with what I knew about the healthiest plant-based diet. And it's a program. And so by that, I mean, you get support 24 hours. I mean, I do sleep, but for the most part, anybody that knows me, and I just was in San Francisco with 3 friends, I'm on the page all the time, answering the questions and supporting the people. So that's that. The thing is being in a program can be very helpful, especially for people with addiction, because addiction thrives in isolation. And when you have a tribe of like-minded people that support you, it's very helpful for people, because what I'm trying to do is take the shame out of this disease. It is a disease, by the way, even though it's not in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual yet, it's going to be recognized soon. Right now, they only recognize binge eating disorder, bulimia, and compulsive eating. They don't recognize this as the disorder it is. And I think it has a lot to do with the processed food industry, because if we can prove, which is actually has been proven, but if we can really make it prevalent that these processed foods for a large segment of our population, sugar and flour, are addictive, it's going to be the same thing that happened to the tobacco industry. And so, can you imagine like having like little rooms, like you have to if you work in an office, you have to go downstairs and go outside to eat your sugar and flour. I mean, that would be amazing. And you could point at them like, look at them, they still eat sugar and flour. So again, when I said go back to unprocessed, what I meant is unprocessed doesn't have any sugar or oil or flour or alcohol or salt, but the recipes are richer. And so why would I tell somebody that's struggling to lose weight to eat richer food? Because as a food addict and as somebody that works almost exclusively with people that are food addicts, I know that they would be a lot better off eating one of the rich date nut desserts, maybe not in terms of weight loss, but in terms of the stabilization of the brain chemistry, than going back to any amount of sugar and flour. Now, I ate something with dates and nuts at Rancho La Puerta. Somebody made one of my recipes. We made the Berrylicious fruit tart. And unfortunately, when we got to the ranch, the food, sometimes the ingredients are in season, sometimes they're not. So we didn't have any berries for a Berrylicious fruit tart. And what else? There was just a lot of things we didn't have. And so this gal is making my recipe, and she doesn't know, I don't know what it's supposed to taste like either, because it's not anymore my recipe. We're basically creating one. So she used mangoes and figs, and it had nuts and dates, and I ate it. Now, one good thing about Rancho is they don't give you big servings. So the piece was really, really small, and boy, it was delicious. And I thought about it, and I thought about how good it was, but it didn't make me want to eat the whole dessert the way that a sugar or flour dessert would, because even though it was of a high, a high caloric density from the dates and the nuts, not necessarily any more so than if you took a dessert with sugar, flour, and oil, when you eat foods with actual nutrient value, dates and nuts, you do get full. I'm sure there are people that can overeat. There are people that can overeat on anything. But a date nut dessert, while it's not going to keep me slim if I do it all the time, it's not going to trigger me the way a little bit of sugar, a little bit of flour will. And so that's why I suggested to go back to unprocessed, because if somebody is failing miserably on the Ultimate Weight Loss program, I don't want them to do a more restrictive program. I want them to do a less restrictive program, but I want them to keep as much of the original program in that they can do, which is the SOS free, and of course the alcohol and the flour. And that's what unprocessed is. And so if they can go back to McDougall doing the sugar and the flour, do it. But if they came from doing that and they couldn't, so I hope that makes sense. So what I'll do now is I'm going to read an excerpt. Probably should have started like this, but I was going to read an excerpt from my new book, because I still get asked all the time, what is food addiction? And again, it's a terrible name and people don't like it. People are ashamed by the diagnosis, or it's self-diagnosed, by the way, because since it's not in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, it's not yet a real disease that's recognized by the medical community. It's largely self-diagnosed, and there's lots of tests you can take online, like the Yale Food Addiction Score, to see if you are a food addict. But I think if you are, you kind of know. And the being overweight or obese is just a symptom of the food addiction. And when you treat the food addiction with a dietary style like Ultimate Weight Loss, the weight actually does come off slowly and usually sustainably. And well, Kathy, stop thinking and start joining. Tell me what your reservations are, and if I see it, I'll answer. So, as I always said, the thing is it exists on a continuum, with some people being maybe mildly addicted to these substances and some being severely addicted, and that level can change in time. Like I always say, if you can do a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, you might not be as triggered by a little sugar and flour as a normal day at work or when you're in a car accident. By the way, Michelle, if you're watching, Godspeed to you. I'm glad that you're safe. So what I do is I have my own little test that I wrote, and a plant-based food addict, love it. Yeah, thanks, Sherry, for saying it's worth joining. Kirsten, I'd love to come to Seattle. Tell the organizer of the Seattle Veg Fest to have me. I've written him many times, and he doesn't have me come. I did one in Spokane, though, recently. Lovely. Josh McKell's one. It was fantastic. So this is an excerpt from my book, my next book, which is due any day now. And by the way, if you like what you're seeing, please feel free to share it now. There's a share button under the video screen. And it's my new book is called The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, a revolutionary approach to conquer cravings, overcome food addiction, and lose weight without going hungry. And the cover is really good. I can't wait to show it to you. So, hey, Kristen. What's Kristen saying? I look great as usual. I don't look as good as you. Kristen Bummer, she has a blog called Beans Not Bambi. She is the jock of all jocks. This girl's amazing. Her body, that's what I want for Christmas, by the way, is Kristen Bummer arms. So the additional money, Kathy, you get a lot of content that you can't get free. You get the recording of a live Ultimate Weight Loss seminar and a lot of phone calls and support and a recipe guide. Okay, so let me go over this. How can we order my book? Mary, you can't order the book. We don't want to do pre-orders. What we want to make sure is everybody's on my mailing list at eatunprocessed.com. And then on one day, if y'all buy on one day, we're going to have an amazing amount of bonuses, like the audio book that you would normally have to pay $25 for to get on audible.com, like another cookbook that nobody knows about that I wrote but never published. And I don't know what else, but it's going to be amazing. So UWL is the best thing since sliced bread, Anna says. Yeah, but we don't have sliced bread. Yay, Peggy Harder. That's my mom's maiden name. So make sure you're on my mailing list, because a lot of you guys are on the mailing list, but you don't get my emails because I guess you haven't, I think it's called whitelisted us, especially if you have sbcglobal.net and AOL. We go right to spam, or your server will not take it. So get a Gmail account and then sign up for our mailing list, and you'll be sure to get it. So anyway, Mariana says that she does a liberal starch solution, but learns so much from me. There's always room for improvement. Thank you. Okay, so this is an excerpt from my book. And, oh, thanks for loving the info, Amy Lynn. So here, this is, I don't know what page it is, but I just printed it out. So here's what I write. And you can all take the test with me right now. So how do you know if you have a problem with a particular type of food or drink? Please ask yourself these questions and answer as honestly as possible. Number one, do you absolutely have to consume it daily or perhaps even several times a day? Number two, Do you feel bad if you are unable to get your fix? Number 3, do you think about it often and can't wait until you are able to consume it again, even if you have just had it? Number 4, is it difficult for you to moderate your use of it? Number 5, do you often consume more of it than you intended to? Number 6, do you often feel shame or regret after consuming it? Number 7, do you have physical or emotional withdrawal symptoms when you try to abstain from it? Number 8, is it difficult for you to get through even a single day without consuming this substance? Number 9, does abstaining from it result in any physical or emotional discomfort? Number 10, does the mere thought of abstaining from it bring on strong emotions such as anxiety, sadness, anger, or grief? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you may be suffering from an addiction. How does the thought of giving up these foods or beverages for even a day make you feel? How about for 21 days? What emotions come up when you consider the possibility of having to abstain from these substances forever? So that is, Jenny Funderburg says, yes, 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 yes. All of the above, Mindy says. Yes, it's true, you obsess about it. So that's really what we do, Mindy, in Ultimate Weight Loss, is we give you that nice, calm, stable brain so that you can think about something other than what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, and how much you ate, and things like that. So yay, Chrissy's joining UWL tonight. Finally, I've admitted myself to others that I have an addiction. Yeah, and you know, you're going to meet a lot of people just like you. We have amazing people in the group. We have doctors and nurses, lots of nurses. You know, all the people that do those caring jobs often have struggle with this problem because they're giving to others instead of themselves. So it's been almost an hour, so it was hard without you, Kenny and Eden. I hope you guys come back. If you guys have like a last minute question, if you want to type it right now, and again, please consider sharing because that is really nice. Sharing is caring, and I appreciate it so much. Don't forget, next Wednesday at noon Pacific time, I'll be interviewing Dr. Joel Furman. I don't know which way to hold this so you can see it. Author of the new Fast Food Genocide. It's going to come out in a couple of weeks. Make sure you're on this page at noon Pacific time on October 11th. That's a Wednesday. So you can give everything up except cheese or sour cream. Well, you know, the dairy is probably the worst addiction there is, and it's probably the most deleterious to your health, dairy. And if you don't believe me, read a book by Dr. Barnard called The Cheese Trap. You're welcome, Colleen. Yeah, Heather is awesome. We're talking about Heather Goodwin from Plant-Based a Butterfly Effect, Plant-Based Weight Loss. You can find her on YouTube. She's lost 300 pounds on the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. So if you have nothing else, I will be back here next Wednesday, hopefully with Kenny or Eden to help me. And Bailey would like to say goodbye to everyone. So thank you guys so much for watching another episode. This was episode 46 of Weight Loss Wednesday. I'm Chef AJ, and I really do believe you can have both the health and the body that you so richly deserve. Thanks, everyone.